What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So, if you checked out my last video, it was regarding the Canelo and Trout fight. And again, I'm highly looking forward to that. One thing that I have heard in the boxing community from various people, comments that I read and whatnot, is they are fearful that Trout is going to outpoint or outscore, outbox Canelo, yet is going to go to decision and he's going to get robbed. First things first, I gotta say, I think that's a negative way to look at the fight. We all know that bad mistakes and judgment calls and bad decisions have definitely happened in the sport of boxing. And as a fan, it's not a great moment, but just to assume it's going to happen. And I feel basically boxing fans, we sometimes look at things and try to foreshadow or premeditate, and we create problems before we arrive at the problem. And I'm just the type of person I'd rather get to that problem or that solution once that problem is presented and play it by ear. Because at the end of the day, especially a sport like boxing, it's one of the most unpredictable sports. Who knew Marquez, who had never knocked down him in previous three fights, would knock him out completely, even though Pacquiao hasn't been knocked out since 2001 and he got knocked out in 2012 against Marquez. But no one really seen that. And again, if you think so, let me know what YouTube prediction said that Marquez was going to knock him out cold in round six. But again, that's why we watch the sport of boxing, because it's a roller coaster ride. It takes us for constant loops and turns and things we never saw happen beforehand. When they do happen, it's just shocking to us and it's entertaining to us. But far too many times, I think people foreshadow or create these problems before they happen. Recently, Adrian Broner announced that he's fighting Paulie Malignaggi, and now I'm hearing thousands of comments and seeing comments saying he's ducking 140. This is one fight. Because he fights one opponent at 147 doesn't indicate that's where he's going to remain for the rest of his career or anything. He said in previous interviews, I'm flexible. He said 135, 147, it don't matter. I'm flexible. That's what he said. He's young. He's young enough to put his body through different things. Now, someone like Bernard Hopkins, he's not going to want to come down to 168 or 160 if he can even make that, and then go back up to 175, because as you get older, it becomes more detrimental to your body, i.e. Pacquiao versus De La Hoya. I think that was one of the times where age and catch weight definitely played a factor. I'm not saying De La Hoya would have beat Pacquiao, but I think it definitely had an effect on his body. But Broner's at an age, he's very young. He's at an age where he can bounce back from weight and be okay. So a lot of people are predicting, oh, Broner's ducking 140. He didn't sign a 3-fight welterweight deal, to my knowledge. I don't even think he's in a fight contract where it's multiple fights, and it's definitely not telling him what weight he has to fight at. So there's no indication what his next move is. We have to wait and see. I mean, and Paulie Malignaggi is a seasoned fighter, so there's no guarantee, absolute guarantee, especially in the sport of boxing, that he would beat Paulie Malignaggi. Again, I never in my wildest dreams thought Richard Abril would do that and look that good against Brandon Rios. I thought he was going to get killed, and that's not what happened. I thought Brandon Rios would just finally catch him and get too much, but obviously Abril has a slick enough style, an awkward enough style. He has the height advantage, and he was able to lose the fight on the scorecards, but a lot of people think he won. So, again, boxing is unpredictable. As far as the Trout Canelo situation, I'm not even looking past the fight. I just want to see a great fight. I hope it's no controversial bullshit decision, but I'm not going to create this problem that might not even exist. What if one of them gets knocked out? Then there is no controversy. So I don't know. I just don't think that's a good attitude to go into fights expecting the worst. When I watched Marquez versus Pacquiao 3, part 3, I didn't expect for it to be a controversial decision. I was just looking to see a good fight, and it just so happens that it was a controversial decision. I think Marquez should have won that particular fight as well. So again, I don't go in it with the glasses half full type of mentality, or the half empty, or whatever the fuck it is. I just don't go into it with a negative, like, oh, Trout's going to get robbed. Second thing, if you're an avid boxing fan, then you'll know one thing about Austin Trout. If you look up the word underdog in the dictionary, you might see a picture of Austin Trout. He's been the underdog, and that's kind of what he's becoming known for, being the spoiler. He was supposed to lose to Canelo Alvarez's brother Rigoberto. They fought in Mexico. Rigoberto, I believe, was the favorite at the time, and he won. He won a decision in Mexico. They fought in Guadalajara, Mexico, I believe it was, and he won. He went. I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. It doesn't get more hostile than that. You got a foreign fighter going into Mexico. He doesn't speak the common language, and everybody wants his opponent to win. And then you come out with the victory. I mean, that's a hostile crowd. Same thing with Miguel Cotto versus Austin Trout. Miguel Cotto is from Puerto Rico. However, New York City is known for having a large Hispanic, namely Puerto Rican, Colombian, Dominican demographic. He went to Miguel Cotto's second home, tons of Puerto Rican, and he beat him convincingly. I think the scorecard should have been a little bit closer, but he convincingly beat him. At the end of the fight, there was no question in my mind who won that fight. So again, Austin Trout is known to be the spoiler. I don't really foreshadow or see it being a robbery, and that's what I'm reading from a lot of people. They just think it's going to be some kind of controversial. I think if the better man, if Trout outboxes Canelo, I think he'll get the decision. I don't think it'll be a problem. And again, I think that's not a good habit to get into to form, to just try to foreshadow and predict so much of the future, especially when it's negative, because you really never know, especially in a sport like boxing. Austin Trout's also with Al Heyman, and Al Heyman has a lot of pull in the sport based on who he represents. He represents Floyd Mayweather, Adrian Broner, Austin Trout, among others. I think Chris Arreola. He represents a lot of big marquee names in the sport. So with that kind of power, I don't think that they would just rob him on a decision. Like I said, I don't know. It's possible anyone can get robbed, or I guess if someone gets paid off to take a dive and all kinds of stuff. I'm sure that has happened in the sport of boxing. Boxing is known to be a corrupt sport, but again, I'm not thinking about all that. I'm just glad a good fight's being made, and I'll deal with that if and when that happens, as opposed to foreshadowing and saying Trout's going to get robbed. Because what if he gets knocked out? Then there is no robbery. If he gets knocked out, he gets knocked out. There is nothing to dispute. Same thing with Marquez versus Pacquiao 4, which is why I don't see a reason for a fifth one. Marquez did what neither fighter can do in the previous 3 fights, and he knocked him out. There is no controversy. He ended that controversy, and to me, closed that book by knocking Pacquiao out. Same thing with Austin Trout Canelo. It's a 50-50 fight. It's a great fight. It's a fight that needs to happen. And I'll want to wait and see before I start passing judgment as to what's going to happen, who's going to get robbed, and that kind of thing. So that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win? Why do you think they're going to win? Canelo versus Trout. Great fight, April 20th. Hate, comment, or subscribe. Until next video, it's Ego signing off.